Hi, my name's Becca, and when I was a little kid, my mum took me to Greenham Common to visit and support the Greenham Common Women's Peace Camp. And that meant that I was really fortunate to grow up sitting around campfires and kitchen tables and living rooms with the most amazing, progressive, interested women, interested in each other and interested in my views and the views of other women and girls around them. And that made me very interested in Greenham as well. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the sort of things that these kind of women have told me about, particularly Green Gate, which is one of the gates at Greenham Common. And the way that the gates worked at Greenham Common is that base, there was a military base that occupied this common land, and it was full of soldiers from America and Britain, and they were looking after American war-headed planes for the Americans. And at every gate around the base, there was a different kind of camp of Greenham women, and they had really different personalities. And to make things egalitarian and try to deconstruct language and decolonise language and things, Greenham women started with the main gate, which was the main gate of the base, and that always stayed the biggest of the Greenham gates. But they, instead of calling it main gate, after a while they called it Yellow Gate, and all the different gates had different coloured name, and yellow and green and blue, and smaller ones that sprung up and came and went, like indigo and violet and turquoise and stuff like that. And they all had their own characters and personalities. Blue was like a Northern Party kind of gate, quite often in the line of sort of a lot of military interest and action, because that was where often the convoys would come in and out. So Green women were very brave and active there. Main gate and Yellow Gate was the one where all the visitors and the press came and things. It was very public and very political. And then Green Gate, for example, which is one that I'm focusing on in these little chats with you, was the kind of eco-feminist, spiritual kind of gate. And it was probably the second gate that actually came into being, because it's the gate that they started so they could look at the silos being built. The silos were where these American missiles were going to be stored. But it just happened that where that viewing point was actually in the woods, whereas the other gates were quite exposed. They weren't always beautiful. If you watch Eben Kidron's film, Carry Greenham Home, you'll see that it's quite a hard life a lot of the time at Greenham Common. But the area that Green Gate was in just took the edge off slightly. It was really green and very in the midst of nature, and it was quite a pretty camp, and accordingly people were drawn to it who wanted to be in nature and decorate it and enjoy it. So I guess what you could expect if you visited in that area, if you wandered in, you would you'd not find any men at any time, whereas men could visit the other camps in the day. They couldn't stay over. They were not allowed ever to be at Green Gate, so you would find only women. And you would find it was nicknamed the Sanctuary because of that. There was a lot of healing. There was a lot of respite from the stress of other parts of the base, and I think that also meant that there was a bit more space there for contemplation and also for playfulness. I know that for the women that did live there, it was nicknamed at Greenham Common the Sanctuary, and the women that lived there, one of them, my friend Carolyn, she says that she actually lived in a holly bush for quite a lot of her time there. She managed to find a holly bush she could be in, and that was her home for a long time at Green Gate. And my other friend Tanya, she says that you had these benders, and benders were a structure that nomadic peoples used to use before we all became static peoples, back at the beginnings of our evolution, where you literally throw what would then be an animal hide over a tree branch, but you could make those kind of structures with plastics and stuff in, and blankets in Green Gate, because there were so many trees to put them over, and people got very elaborate with these benders, and that they were really lovely things that got made out of necessity in other parts of the camp, because the evictions that the council organised meant that you couldn't keep tents and things, but you could put up a bender, and if it was taken away, it wouldn't be such a massive impact on you. Whereas at Green Gate, these were quite permanent, lived in, and became quite elaborate structures. And one of the nicest stories that I really love that Carolyn told me, and that quite a few of the women mention actually about Green Gate, is that they had a bathroom tree, which I really love. So as a community, they would all collect around this one tree that had a basin at the bottom, like a place where they would fill with water, and then it would do their teeth or their hair, and they'd have a chat in the morning and stuff. And all around the tree, they would hang their toothbrushes and a mirror and hairbrushes and anything else they needed. And that was the bathroom tree. And that, I feel, really sums up something that tells us a lot about life at Greengate, a communal, sisterly, playful, nature-loving life.